Welcome everybody from near and far. My name is Brad Barbeau. I am the Executive Director of the Institute for Innovation and Economic Development, and we are the folks who run this meetup each month to bring you some really cool presenters from around the region and beyond the region tonight to find out what's happening in the world of entrepreneurship. So let us roll forward. We've got a poll up there finding out, I always like to know who's a first timer and who's been around the block a few times and where are you from? And let's find out for those who are saying somewhere else, if you could put into chat where you're from. I'm curious about who's from the furthest distance. I have my bets, but I'm not revealing because I might be wrong. So we've got 4 people so far from somewhere else, not Monterey, San Benito, or Santa Cruz counties. And they are from, we've got San Diego, Evan Goodwin in from San Diego. I don't think you're going to be with the winner though, Evan. We've got Nikki Chirukathoda from New Jersey. See if anybody can get further. It's hard to get further than New Jersey unless you're outside of the United States. So, all right, cool. Welcome, Nikki, all the way from New Jersey. And
Thank you.
We hardly even notice. We can see you as clearly as if you were right in our backyard. Okay, let's roll to the next slide. And just a note on Zoom, as if we're not all Zoom experts these days. You can ask questions using, there's a Q&A icon. You can also use chat. We'll keep an eye on both of those for your questions. If you want to send a message to the group, you can do that through the chat function. I believe you can also send a message privately through the chat function, but be careful. Don't make snide remarks privately because sometimes it'll fool you and make them public. You can see us. All of us who are panelists, you can see us, but we cannot see you. If you're in one of the attendees, we can see your name on our list, but we can't actually see you. So you can make faces at us all night. That will be just fine. We won't know. Optimal viewing, stay in speaker view mode. Your audio is muted. So if you want to communicate, use chat. And just a note, we are recording the webinar, so what you say in chat, etc., will be recorded for posterity, and we will publish a version of this on our website. So just so people know that up front, and that your continued participation is acceptance that that's okay. Next slide, please. There we go, acknowledging our sponsors. You know what, Lynette, would you do a quick refresh of your slides? Because I added an important addition on there. You have to go out of present mode real quick and then do a refresh and then just come back in. I forgot that you would need to refresh your slides. There we go. And here we go. All right, so our sponsors, key sponsors from the community, the IP Society, they do legal work on intellectual property. So if you have intellectual property that needs to be protected, give them a call at the IP Society. I think it's ipsociety.com is their web address. And Angel to Exit, if you're getting ready to pitch and out looking for money, talk to Angel to Exit. They have a program to help you get ready to pitch and to help connect you with investors. Blue Tech Valley, For anybody who's working in ag tech or in the energy area, the Blue Tech Valley Accelerator is out there for you. If you reach out to us, we can connect you with them. They have great programs and connections to money. And Startup Monterey Bay, that is us. And also want to acknowledge the College of Business and its Dean, Dean Sham Kamath, for their support in making all of our programs possible. Next, please. All right, this is the Startup Monterey Bay Tech Meetup. We've been running for about 3 years. I've lost count now, 3 or 4 years. I can't count that far, I should. We're here to network, even though in this environment, networking is a little bit trickier. Here to share and learn, to hear from folks, find out what's happening out there, and build that community that's so important to successful entrepreneurship. Or as Brooks likes to say, have fun, make money, and change the world. Next slide. This is our team. We'll introduce ourselves briefly. I'm Brad Barbeau, and Mary Jo, raise your hand. There she is. There's Mary Jo, and Dan Ripke up. And he's in the upper corner from me, but that changes, I think, from slide to slide. Dr. Jenny Kwan.
Hi, everybody.
Hello. There we go. Selena Harris, who's not with us tonight. Lynette Lathrop. She's driving, working the slides there. Nina Cornelius, who's...
Hi, everyone.
There you are. Nina is now our tech meetup coordinator. So she's the one who's putting all this together, which is fabulous. And Kenneth Olson. Kenneth, they say hello.
How's it going, guys?
Kenneth is, Selena, Nina, and Kenneth are interns with the iiED. Kenneth does marketing. Selena does actually a whole bunch of organizational things for us. Okay, next slide. And Nina is, of course, the Tech Meetup coordinator. So tonight's presenters, we have 3 great presenters tonight. Homayun Talier, who is the founder of MemoriaInc.com. And he doesn't like it when I say that they're a competitor to Zoom, but to give you a sense of what they do, they've improved on the Zoom platform. So he's going to tell us about how it's way more than just Zoom. Evan Goodwin is here with us from Scoot Science. Scoot Science started in Santa Cruz. They were a runner-up in the Startup Challenge in 2016. They took to heart the feedback from the judges, made some pivots, and they have done some fabulous work. This will be really interesting hearing how they have developed over the last 4 years. And Megan Schlesinger, who's with the Emerging Technology Consortium at the Naval Postgraduate School, and her colleague, Chris Manuel, who's also on here. Chris is with the Tech Bridge, and they're going to talk about their programs at NPS, which are of great interest to us because they're reaching out to the private sector to partner with private sector startup companies. So really cool presentations to hear tonight. Up next, say hello. So if everybody would just put like one sentence about yourself into chat. Who you are, maybe a little about what you do and where you're from. We've got Charles joining us from Clovis, California. Please introduce yourselves in chat. Who else have we got out there? Can you find chat? It's a little button on your screen. Or you can say Lynette Lathrop, Program Coordinator for iiED. I'll chime in here.
There we go. We have 20. one really shy people.
Oh, they're coming through. You just have to get them in the habit. Cool.
It's the essay question. It's the difficult part.
Yeah, right, right. Don't get it wrong. Got John Derrick, CEO of Skywriter Systems, advisor to other companies in machine learning, security, battery recycling, quantum random number generation. John, I'll have to ask you about what exactly that means sometime. I know what random number generation means. I just don't know about quantum random number generation. Dutch Meyer, Monterey Peninsula Law, customized legal solutions for small businesses, startup, and entrepreneurs. He's a resource we're happy to have here. Nikki Chirikathoda, student co-founder and project manager at Get Virtual. We'll hear from the Get Virtual folks tonight. And Josh Metz, former Ford reuse executive, co-founder of Monterey Bay Dart. We'll hear from Josh tonight talking about the Dart Symposium. Cool. Chris Manuel, director of the Central Coast Tech Bridge, and Kenneth Olson, social media intern for iiED and also working with Get Virtual. And Robert Beal, retired startup guy, 4 times, a serial entrepreneur, angel mentor, etc. Cool. And Chris Miller of Cloud Brigade. We're a technical skunk works. I like that. All right, next, s'il vous plaît. It's time for the monthly news quiz to find out if you've kept on up on what's happening in the startup world these days. MJ, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Got a couple of questions. This one was kind of fun to see. Bloomberg puts out a state innovation index every year. And for the second consecutive year, 2 states took first and second spots in this annual index. Of course, California is ranked #1 in innovation. Which state do you think ranked second? Massachusetts, Texas, or Washington?
There we go. It's a race between Massachusetts and Texas. Oh, Washington is on the board. Coming up, nope, Washington's falling behind Texas. It looks like Massachusetts is out front.
All right, let's see what the results are.
So Massachusetts was the winner, and Massachusetts is the winner. Cool.
Okay, our second question is really a way to kind of focus on a couple of local companies. We had 2 shops that opened just before COVID. The Hem Nutrition, and they offer a variety of nutrient-dense meal shakes and teas, and Deja Blue, which is a restaurant and comedy club with live music, and that opened up just 2 weeks before COVID shut everything down. Both of these companies opened on the same street in the same city, in this local area. What is the name of that city? Monterey, Santa Cruz, or Seaside?
I love watching the race.
Okay, looks like everybody has made their decision, and the result is Seaside. Both of the cities are located on Broadway, so when they are open, when you can go check them out. And our last question is, this was carried in the couple local papers. Several business students helped local mom and pop restaurants and some local small farmers pivot their businesses to operate under the COVID-19 rules. What college or university are these students from? Okay, let's see the results.
Very interesting.
Okay. Let's see what the answer is. CSUMB. And I want to acknowledge that Dr. Jenny Kwan was pivotal in starting that, making that happen. Thank you all. Well,
Thank you very much, Mary Jo, for this month's MJ's quiz. All right, if you want to win the quiz, you got to be in the know. You got to read Santa Cruz Tech Beat. Keep an eye on the news feed on startupmontereybay.com and track santacruzworks.org. All three of those are great sources of news in the entrepreneurial world in our region. So next, let's roll forward. We've got some upcoming events happening. Let's see what's happening here. By the way, just so everybody knows, if you haven't discovered so far, the Meetup, Tech Meetup we're now using Eventbrite. We continue to use Meetup to announce, but we're doing all of the registration now on Eventbrite. So we meet the second Tuesday of each month, so we're pretty predictable. If you go to Eventbrite, you can register there. The link is there, but you can also just search on Startup Monterey Bay Tech Meetup, and you'll find us on Eventbrite.
but we're not meeting in August.
But we're not meeting in August. We're taking August off, and we'll be back with a vengeance in September. Okay. And Josh Metz, this is your time.
Thanks, Brad, for the opportunity to be here and tell everybody about this upcoming event in October, the week of 19th through the 23rd. We're not going to be sitting on Zoom for 8 hours, 5 days in a row, but we are going to be organizing ourselves for two-hour sessions, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, with a focus on this family of technologies we describe as DART, drone automation and robotics. It's kind of a broad umbrella under which we're working to continue to grow our region as a noteworthy hub in the national space for development and testing of these technologies. So you can go to our website, montereybaydart.org, and you can see some previews. We have this new series of Zoom interviews we're doing with various kind of leaders and thought leaders and movers in the field. And you can take a look at that. You can learn about the urban air mobility focus that we'll have. And also some of the other folks, Chris and Megan, who are on today's session, are going to participate in a national defense component that's going to be set up as one of the days. But the big theme for the symposium is, as we set back in, I believe it was March or so, when we decided to push out the date for our planned June event, we said, what is going to be a good topic to focus on? And so we came up with innovation and recovery. So that'll kind of be an overarching theme, and then we'll kind of take deeper dives into a variety of sectors. So please go check it out, and we hope to be opening registration for that quite soon, and look for more information on various social media channels and so on. And thanks to Brad for becoming a quite active member of the DART board. In fact, he's been elected as the president of DART for this year. So he's weighing in with all his connections and expertise in business planning, among other things. So thanks for doing that, Brad. I'm glad to be here tonight. Look forward to hear from Chris and Megan.
Thank you, Josh. And I encourage everybody to check out the symposium. It was a great program last year. It'll be a great program this year. and you'll get a little preview of it because chances are that the NPS folks will be hearing from tonight will be a big chunk of the symposium in the fall. So get a little preview going. All right, next. Thrive Demo Day, it's happening September 24th. If you're interested at all in ag tech, this is the place to be on that day, starting at 9 a.m. You can register for free. It is open to the public to watch what's going on. So, great event. It's going to be a great fall for these events. And next, MJ, you're up.
Yes, we partner a lot with Santa Cruz Works, and every month they have a pretty cool theme. And this coming month, their theme is Santa Cruz Biotech Startups. So that's also a virtual event. So you can go to their website, santacruzworks.org.
Cool. Excellent. Next. The Startup Investment and Community Capital Expo. This will be the 4th year we've run this. It was a fabulous event last year. We had a couple of hundred people there. We had 17 companies pitch to investors. We had, I think, 8 different panels that were wonderful. This year, we'll be running it online, of course, September 28th to 30th. And we're lining up a great group of speakers and panelists, and not too dissimilar from what the DART Symposium is doing. Our themes, we have a theme of recovery and reinvention, of course, and also a major theme around inclusion. And we have some unbelievable speakers who are signing on for that. We will also have companies pitching again. Those companies are signing up. And if we go to the next slide, and if the next slide looks like I think it's going to, if you have or know a company that's looking for investment, they can go to siccmonterey.com and apply to pitch at this event. We do review companies to pitch. There's a limited number of spaces. We'll review companies on a rolling basis as they apply. Once the spaces are filled, so apply early. We're creating a special page to feature each of the companies that's pitching and help connect you to investors. We'd like to build that page as early as possible, so climb on board as soon as you can. All right. Startup Investment and Community Capital Expo. And next, Mary Jo.
At CSUMB, we have a great program in graphic design. And one of the faculty members there, Bobby Long, loves working with startup companies. And so she's looking for clients for her students. So that she can have her students design logos during the fall semester. So if you know of a company that is needing some help with logo design, please contact Bobby Long at blong@csumb.edu.
Excellent. Well, those students do a great job, by the way. So encourage you, if it works for you, to use them, please do. Startup Launchpad. So we announced, actually at the Startup Investment and Community Capital Expo last year, we announced that we had received a grant to start up the Launchpad. And we are doing the official launch. We have mentors in place. We have the software platform in place that we'll be using for this. So we have 2 different programs we are launching, actually have launched. One is what we call Launchpad Advise. If you have a question about your startup or you need some short-term assistance, reach out to us on startupmontereybay.com, and we'll have one of our advisors or mentors talk with you and see how they can help. And if you're getting ready to launch, getting ready for funding, you should join our mentor program, get connected into our network of mentors and investors and other entrepreneurs. This is an ongoing longer-term mentoring program to help businesses get launched and get funded. So if you go to startupmontereybay.com or send us an email at info@startupmontereybay.com, and we'll get you more information about that program. Startup Launchpad. Next. Get Virtual. So Get Virtual is a project that started in response to COVID. It was started in Santa Cruz by Toby Corey and picked up at the University at Santa Cruz, UCSC. A group of students have been working on this, and it is now coming to Monterey with an entrepreneurship class that I have this summer, but will continue on past that. So we have some of the students who've been working on it here to give us more information about how Get Virtual works. So next slide, and who's gonna take this?
That would be me.
There we go.
So thanks for the introduction, Brad. So my name's Aaron. I'm a co-founder at Get Virtual. And next slide. So essentially, to tell you guys a little bit about our organization, Get Virtual gives local businesses affected by COVID-19 the tools to adapt to the virtual landscape and kind of operate online. And so what does that actually mean? What that means is that we're going to businesses, we're going to business owners, and we're saying, what problems are you facing? And businesses are facing a multitude of problems. Some are having problems with kind of like in-store operations, especially now that restrictions on in-store businesses have been put back into place by Governor Newsom. And others are having problems that are kind of exacerbated by the crisis, having online stores that aren't converting. And what we kind of do is we kind of diagnose these problems, because to the business owner, they just see that they're getting less revenue. And we kind of diagnose, we're saying, are you having problems driving people to your website? Are you having trouble getting them or getting your website to convert? And we kind of customize our approach to each business, to the values that it embodies, to the value that it provides to its customers. And we, help them get up and running during these, really tumultuous times. Next slide.
So the driving force behind our organization is in what we like to call student entrepreneurship, or simply broken down, student entrepreneurship. And we actually put both the client's needs and the students' interests first. Since April, we have had over 90 businesses sign up for our services. And this is great because we have a wide variety of skills that match with the tasks and projects available for students. So students can really pick up projects that they have specific interest in, further develop those interests, as well as gain professional experience at the same time. Overall, through Get Virtual, our students have the opportunity to give back to their local community. They're able to grasp the fundamentals of project management, and they also gain hands-on entrepreneurial experience. And I think a key point to note here is that our opportunities are not limited to just business, entrepreneurial, or economics majors. Our founders team is actually made up of all kinds of majors like math, comp sci, business, neuro, psych, and we're growing exponentially. So our opportunities are really open to anybody that is looking to gain experience in the 3 bullet points you see on this slide. Next slide, please.
Awesome. So my name's Kenneth. I'm super stoked to announce that we're officially open Get Virtual is currently expanding their services beyond Santa Cruz County, and so it's coming to Monterey Bay. This summer, Brad mentioned that he participated and brought to this program to his students in his 310 class. We were fortunate to have the CSUMB students shadow the UC Santa Cruz students and to bring this amazing program into Monterey Bay. And we're excited to officially announce the opening of the Monterey Bay branch. Potentially student volunteers are encouraged to sign up. So if you know of any students that attend CSUMB, please reach out and send them a link to this Get Virtual sign up so they can gain experience and be a part of a team. Businesses in need of our services are more than encouraged to sign up and receive this free service that could be very beneficial to the business. So yeah, next slide, please.
And before we sign off, we'd really like to emphasize that we are in no way trying to compete with marketing agencies or web development agencies. We just recognize that there is a need for businesses that have been financially impacted by COVID-19 and may not be able to afford these pre-existing agencies. Having said that, if you are interested in our services, please visit us at getvirtual.org. I'll put that in the chat momentarily. You can also reach us via email, which I'll also put in the chat. And yeah, be sure to follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook for any future updates. Thank you for your time.
Cool. Thank you very much, folks from Get Virtual. So if you all know businesses out there who are reeling from the current environment and need some help getting online, getting their social media up and running, getting their website set up, getting connected to delivery services, have them go to getvirtual.org and they can sign up there, and we'll be in contact with them as quick as we can. Thank you very much. And next slide. Lynette, this is you.
So here at Startup Monterey Bay, we recognize the need for a list or resources for businesses that have been affected by COVID-19. So if you are interested or are looking for some support, we highly encourage you to visit startupmontereyBay.com/COVID-19-resources for startups. There are many resources here. A lot of them are funded, so many are free. So we really encourage you to take advantage of these, look through that. And there's also even a section for getvirtual.org if you want to get in contact with them.
Cool. Thank you very much. And next. Go slide. It's time for our main presenters. We're going to start with Humayun Talieh from Memoria Inc., who's going to tell us about his really cool platform. And Humayun, the floor is yours. Don't forget to unmute yourself. That's this horrible
Okay.
Zoom platform, you know? We need to get it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Brad, I'm only, believe it or not, this is the first time I am on Zoom platform. So I am on it only because you asked me to. So. Anyways, guys, thank you very much for the opportunity to share our story with you. And Brad, thank you very much for providing the platform to speak on. Really, Memoria was a dream I had out of a personal need and necessity about a couple of years ago, where I did not want to download any malware on my computer. And at the same time, I had a lot of international meetings on Skype, mostly at that time, where I was, every time after a call, I wondered, what did I miss on my call, and was it important or not? With that said, we set out to develop Memoria as a platform where it would be a Zoom plus Slack plus Dropbox, where with one login, you would have all those features at your disposal. Next slide, please. So Memoria is designed to be secure. So all data is encrypted in address and in transit. The invites are tokenized, unique invites that goes to the participants. And of course, is effortless from sharing, collaborating, storing your data while on your call. So we schedule, if you had the app is up and running, you can go to memoriainc.com and sign up for your own free account, 10 seconds to sign up and try it out. You can schedule easily. You can collaborate and communicate easily on the call. It's a full suite video platform and is all cloud-based. So there is no need in advance to coordinate, to use Zoom, GoToMeeting, Skype, or whatever. Your participants get a link that they will launch in Chrome, Firefox, or Microsoft Edge, and they are in. There is no codes to enter and no multiple steps to join the call. Next slide, please. So today, what I see as a problem that we all share is most of the platforms are not as secure as they pretend to be. And of course, the platform that we are on took a significant step to secure our data and our meetings. We needed multiple steps to join in. I had to download Zoom. I could not use the browser to join this call. And then, of course, to enter all these codes to attend the meeting. Of course, there is the issue of recording, so we can memorialize this meeting and can go back later and review what was discussed. To do that, we have to record this meeting, which is a microphone in the cloud, and then either listen to the 1.5 hour to review what was said, or send that recording to some third party to transcribe it. So the transcription and summarization services today are extremely inefficient. If there are more than 2 speakers on a call, while they speak over each other, significantly impact the quality of the transcriptions you get. And of course, sharing and tracking files, information that is shared in this meeting that we are having today is almost impossible and cumbersome, because you have to use either email or other services to forward that information to the participant. So again, not to repeat myself, we developed a platform which is a full suite video conferencing with screen sharing and chat and all. But also it allows you to get on-demand transcriptions of extreme high quality, 96% accurate within a few minutes after your call is finished, that you can reference at a later time or share with anyone that you want. Pretty soon you will also have the ability to include your presentations, your files, and your data in your meeting. So you can go back to a meeting that you had on July 4th with Brad and look what it was discussed, what files were reviewed at the meeting, and what notes were taken, all within the same platform. Next slide, please. So it's needless to say, with all the COVID problems that the world is facing, where we are going with online meeting versus in person. And the intent here is to make the online meeting extremely efficient and accessible from any computer anywhere. So with that said, next slide, please. Many companies that are being interviewed today, again, statistically, you can see here that the majority of the companies going forward will shift to online meetings. So the potential market for a product that can deliver the most efficient and easiest and secure way to have these meetings and the collaboration that happen in these meetings and share the data will eventually be a significant opportunity for investors and the users at large. Next slide, please. So Memoria participate in unified communication, artificial intelligence, and productivity software market, which put together is almost $200 billion market. Next slide, please. So what is our solution? Just to put a word, by the way, to this date, we have not raised any money. So we are a bunch of very passionate entrepreneurs that are set out to compete with Zoom and Slacks and Dropboxes of the world. So if you ever use the platform, you will see the quality compared to other platforms. So our solution was to make it simple. So one login to join the call and to do all your work, secure. So everything is encrypted and even the invites are tokenized. So only you can join. Effortless, so you can create teams in your account and you can invite unlimited number of participants to the meeting or share with unlimited number of participants the details of every meeting. Collaborative, so of course we have screen share, we will have note taking very soon, and of course chat. And again, creating teams will allow you to easily share and communicate with the teams that you create. Efficient, okay, so is already I spoke through it, and global. So being totally cloud native, it allows you, for example, we had a call with a banker. He could not use the bank computer to join the meeting. He ran downstairs to the FedEx office and logged on and joined the meeting at FedEx. Next slide, please. So today, what customer options are, or the user's options are, is using multiple vendors to do what we plan to provide when fully developed on Memoria. So you do use calendar, mail, Slack, OneDrive, Dropbox, and Zoom. And at the end, of course, you have to send your recording to a company like Rev or Transcribe that they charge some $15 per hour of transcript to give you the quality of the transcript that you get on demand out of Memoria, at least for the next foreseeable future for free. Next slide, please. So Memoria core features are conferencing, chat, share screen and collaboration, high quality on demand transcription, and off the record or on the record conversation. So you can turn off, well, on demand is, for now, you have to turn on the recording and transcription for you to have your transcripts at the end. Otherwise, your call is totally private. And private and tokenized links. So when you create a meeting, an email will go out to a participant and invites them. And the invitation that they put on their calendar include a tokenized link that is encrypted and they can only access and use. And you can create teams within your account, and you can, of course, integrate the meeting into your calendar. And of course, automated summary and action item is not yet available in production, but is in the works. Next slide, please. So I already talked to most of these features, so I will try to go through it very quickly. So it's all-in-one platform, cloud native, conferencing with all features, assisted note-taking, and the UI, UX of it is extremely easy to use. The quality of the audio and video is superior to most every app that you have used, including Zoom. And a mobile app should be introduced in the iPhone App Store within a matter of the next couple of weeks. And of course, peer-to-peer messaging for the mobile app. Next slide, please. It is extremely secure. It is encrypted at rest and in transit. Our patent pending technology allows only single track audios and transcriptions from the users. And the users will decide how long their data will stay on the Memoria cloud storage that is secured by the credential or deleted. And of course, the centralized data storage is much more secure than recording audios and then sharing it over the emails and with third-party platforms. Next slide, please. So I am not sure if this is relevant for our topic here, but our strategy is to go to individuals and small and medium-sized organizations where today pay a significant price for their use of platforms like Zoom. So the platform would be free to these organizations, but they will pay on a time use basis for the storage of their large files or the transcriptions that they need for the meetings that they need. Next slide, please. So the team, of course, is really a highest quality individuals with been there, done that. We have multiple Stanford University deans and doctors on the platform consulting us on their frustration with the current tools available to them. And we have a team of some 7 engineers, which is actively working on the platform for the past 2 years. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. And next slide, please. So I just want to quickly share with you what you see when you log on to your online meeting on Memoria. Next slide, please. Basically, you have a platform which you have chat, you can see the participants, you can share screen. And of course, this is a little bit of an older version, but up to 15 participants per page view in your gallery view. Next slide, please. So we are working very hard on making the summarization of the transcript and the meetings meaningful. Despite all the hype that today you hear about AI, such as companies like Gong and so on, all we hear that hardly anybody use those summarizations because they are nothing but the highlighted words and highlighted topics that was discussed the most at the meeting. So with that said, we are working to make that a little bit more palatable and usable. So that is the ultimate goal for Memoria. And with that said, this concludes my presentation, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you very much. So we did have a few questions from the people in the audience. One of the questions they had is, after the beta period or trial period is done, what do you believe your price point might be for the product?
So the price point, the platform, we're gonna keep it for free. So using the audio, video, conferencing, screen sharing, and chat will be free for at least for as long as I'm gonna be running this show. So we will price for the features and the services beyond that on the platform.
Okay, great. They did note that you are integrated with programs like Google Calendar, that sort of thing. Will it work with other products like Dropbox where people might store their files?
So today we have built all the APIs that one can eventually make those connections. There is no limitation there. So it's all built in the infrastructure. But the whole idea is, let's say you have a file, or let's say a presentation, or a very key documents for a meeting, that all those files and data would be tagged to the meeting and would stay with that date and time and that meeting topic that you can search at any time. So I am trying to think where would the use case be where someone would use the Dropbox and Memoria at the same time.
Okay, great. We did have a question from Charles Douglas. He said, it looks like a great product and it's perfect at the right time. And you had a slide about this a little bit, but if you could go into a little more detail about your promotion and sales strategy.
So for, sorry, I think I'm running out of battery out of my headphones, so I'm gonna take it out. If you would please repeat the question one more time.
Sure, the question is, Charles Douglas said, it looks like a great product and it's perfect for this time period. What is your promotion and sales strategy? We're going wired.
Now I can hear you.
There we go. So the question once again is, it looks like a great product. What is your promotion and sales strategy?
Well, the promotion and sales strategy is really, so the beta should be over when we introduce our iPhone app, because a lot of people would like to walk their dogs and then go back home knowing that the full transcript of their conversation is at their demand there. So we should have that done within the next 4 weeks. Once that is out, we will go on a marketing effort to promote it and for everyone to use it, at least for the near future, for free.
Great. And I noticed your advisory board, it's comprised of quite a few individuals in the medical profession. Are they driving a lot of the, if you will, the market creation for this product?
Actually, no. Of course, the physicians are extremely interested because of the potential of the platform to memorialize their meetings with their patients, so they do not have to take detailed notes and forward. But at the same thing happening in the construction industry, that a lot of foremen are in the field where they hate to take notes or send emails. So they would have their conversations on Memoria, and then their bosses or their management or their colleagues automatically are privy to their conversations detailed with a customer or with a client. So there are multiple fronts that I have advisors on my board that are excited about this. So I am not picking a beachhead yet. So let the marketplace decide who can use this platform the most. Great,
Thank you. And that was our last question. Brad, back over
thank
to
you
you.
very much again for all the questions.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Homayun. You can reach out to him through the Memoria. You may want to put your contact information in the chat so people
Sure.
can reach out to you. And people can sign up. It's still free to sign up for the platform so far. Is that correct?
It is.
Yeah. So memoria-inc.com is the website. So next up, we have Evan Goodwin and Scoot Science. As I said before, they are an alum of the Startup Challenge and have gone on to great things. And here to tell us about those great things is Evan. The floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for the invite, Brad. It was great to catch up with you on LinkedIn a few months back. So at our core, we are a team of ocean scientists, data analysts, and software engineers. And we are making ocean analytics and forecasting easy to use for aquaculture. Next slide, please. So we were part of the Startup Monterey Bay Challenge in 2016, and we were one of the finalists in the venture division. And these were just a few snippets of our presentation. Our original thesis was we will run a fleet of autonomous underwater gliders, pictured down in that bottom left corner, to collect ocean data and fill in gaps within existing ocean data that is currently being collected. And we had this thought that, okay, we're going to give marine stakeholders the underwater weather. So you could actually look through the ocean rather than just what's on the surface, like a satellite could see. The short of it was, this was very expensive. There were limited customers, and we decided to pivot. Next slide, please. Oh, no images. Okay. So what we pivoted towards was, well, what actually is the problem? And it's that ocean data is challenging to use inherently. It's hard to actually access data. Public portals are beastly and very hard to navigate. The data is in many dimensions. You have latitude, longitude, depth, and time. It's hard, and it's hard to work with, and it's in strange formats. You need specialized analysis to work on this. Working in Excel isn't exactly the best way to do it. Using more of a spatial-based program, GIS, could work, but then you don't have some of the computational power of Python and R and other statistical programs. There's also a lot of spatial and temporal gaps between your data sets. Sometimes data is collected in one time of the year, and then nothing gets collected for 2 years. How do you deal with those data gaps? Next slide, please. So after lots of customer discovery, we actually found that aquaculture, specifically salmon farmers, were the first people to actually feel the impacts of climate change. So as the ocean is changing, warming up, they're experiencing more low dissolved oxygen events that kill their fish, more harmful algal blooms, which can kill their fish, and other negative impacts. So the example that we worked with in particular is Dean Trethaway at Grieg Seafood. He's been a great resource and partner with us. And they had an acute event in 2018 where they lost $8 million worth of fish in one day due to a harmful algal bloom. And they came to us and said, you know, what can we do? We have all this data, but we don't know what to do with it. Next slide, please. So we looked into it more and we thought, okay, what are the pain points for aquaculture? They have a massive amount of data that's coming in from all these different IoT platforms, but none of it is synced up. Each one has its own unique platform and each one doesn't mesh together well. They're limited by the number of workers that they actually have. Their workers are meant to raise fish. They're not data analysts. So we thought, okay, an ocean scientist would fit in perfectly here. The other big problem that they're experiencing is extreme ocean events are happening more and more often, just like extreme weather events on land. And they're considered largely unpredictable in the industry. Next slide, please. So when we'd ask these fish farmers, well, what do you do about your ocean data? They'd say, well, we use Microsoft Azure or some sort of other BI tool. And at its core, those tools are just generic and they do not consider actual oceanographic variables or oceanographic processes. So the value proposition that we're actually bringing is that because we are ocean scientists and we have that at our core, we're able to give the aquaculture and fish farmers a way to mitigate their ocean risks through their own monitoring efforts, and we can help them model the results and help them give them a unified view of their coastal ocean sites. Next slide, please. So how it actually works. The first part is we offer ocean analytics and forecasting. So like I was saying, every single one of these farms is a collection of IoT streams, whether it's temperature sensors, salinity sensors, all kinds of different ocean data is coming back at different timestamps and intervals, and it needs to go somewhere and be organized. We've created a dashboard solution for that. It's a piece of software, and it maintains all these different data streams that normally each rely on their own interface. We also said, rather than just look at your site in isolation, you need to look at the broader perspective around you. So just like whether it happens around where you live, it's not just what's happening at the fish farm site that's important, it's what's going on around you in your regional oceanography. So we pulled in every single bit of publicly available data, past historical oceanographic cruises, meteorological data, river gauges, wind and other climatological data from ERA5 and other ECMWF models. And we put that all into what we're calling the Sea State Dashboard. That's the actual product that we're selling right now. And it offers on-demand ocean analytics and forecasting. So they can look at their individual sites and what's going on around their sites. They can look at historical events and they can look at short-term forecasting conditions. Next slide, please. The other part and the bigger part that we're moving towards is risk and finance solutions. So right now, fish farmers just automatically build in 10 to 15% mortality rates. When you're talking about these huge numbers of fish and the amount of loss that that actually represents, it becomes a really big number quickly. So for instance, an extreme ocean event in Chile, there was a massive harmful algal bloom associated with the warm water conditions with the 2015-16 El Nino. They lost $800 million worth of fish in 2 months. It was about 39 million fish in total. So they think to themselves, okay, how can a fish farm protect themselves in another way? If they can't act without a forecast, can they protect themselves with insurance? And the short is, no, not right now, because the deductibles are so high and there's such big premiums that the fish farmers cannot agree with the insurance and reinsurers on what a fair price is. So there's also lots of individual risks. For instance, super chill, these flash freezing events off of Eastern Canada that also are considered just 100% uninsurable right now. There's not enough baseline data and the insurers don't have enough transparency and qualified underwriters with an ocean science background to really get this dialed in. And even longer term, it means that capital from larger investors can't make its way into aquaculture. You hear occasionally about green bonds being raised by Norwegian multinational firms, but it means that mom and pop can't raise enough money to actually have the infrastructure to build not only a fish farm, but even smaller scale, an oyster farm or something that does fit into your local ocean better. Next slide, please. So the long range opportunity for us is we want to take all the data that we are collecting from these aquaculture sites and all the publicly available data and use that to broker an insurance product that actually matches the risk to the dollar amount that's actually at risk, rather than one side being the insurer totally misunderestimating or overestimating what that value is, and the fish farm not being able to match. We also want to be able to go into other places around the world where prospective fish farms might be and say, does it even make sense to farm here? What are your historical conditions? The way that it works now is you'll hire a geophysical survey company. They'll come in, one season survey after represent of what your fish farm will exist. And that's just not the case. You need to have a longer, more thorough reanalysis of that data in the region to actually answer. Please. Next slide, please. Did I freeze?
Yeah, we lost you a little bit there, Evan.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. Well,
We
I'll
got
just
you
continue
back.
on here. So right now, what are we actually doing and selling? The first phase is the Sea State dashboard. Like I was mentioning, it's a bit of software that's web-based, and it allows individual fish farms to look at what's going on at their site in real time, and then match that up with the historical conditions from that site. And also we offer a forecasting option. It's slow enterprise B2B sales, and we're following a SaaS model at the moment for this dashboard. We are doing analysis of historical records. We've done a different site selection project, like I mentioned. We're doing short-term forecasting that's operational. Fish farmers can actually manage their operations resources appropriately. For instance, if they saw, oh, it's gonna be particularly warm and low oxygen at this farm in 2 days, they might need to know that so they can get enough diesel for their generators to run their oxygenation systems, their aeration systems. And our current partners that we're working with are Grieg Seafood and Cermak. These might not be household names exactly, but these represent the number 6 and number 3 players in the salmon farming industry in the world. Longer term phase 2 is this global ocean risk modeling, actually go to a given point on the globe and say, if you had your fish farm here, or if you already do have your fish farm here, what are the inherent ocean risks to your business? How are they going to affect your cash flow? Slide, please. Get 50 billion global aquaculture. 62 of that is in marine species, that's ocean-based, and 17 billion of that is specifically in Atlantic salmon. And that's the real niche of the market that we're focusing on. And it's dominated by 10 major players that represent 80+% of the market. And they're located largely around the world at latitudes above 40 degrees north and south. So it's over a large geographic area. Each one has their own unique challenges, whether it's plankton or sea lice, warm temperatures, low oxygen, and having that oceanographic expertise to actually go in and say, these are the risks that we see that are inherent to your area, can help them make these decisions. In terms of what is actually lost, when I mentioned that 10 to 15% loss, that represents $1.8 billion of salmon down the drain every year. So it really is a lot. If you could save them a fraction of a, you're talking about saving amounts of money.
Oh, I think you might have frozen again.
Next slide, please.
And he's back.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. And then the last bit is just the true scale of the economy here. This blue economy, as you'll often hear it called, does represent such a massive number. It's hard to imagine that it is this would represent the 7th largest economy in the world. And other things that we think that we can work on to help find the inherent risk for these infrastructure projects include renewable offshore wind energy, ports that are affected by sea ice and other freeze events, coastal infrastructure, whether it's undersea cables or saltwater intakes, and also at the smallest scale, local municipalities are responsible for their own ocean water quality and compliance. So unless you're going to hire on your own oceanographer in every town, it's going to be kind of challenging to actually make sense of a lot of that data. Next slide, please.
Dan,
Next slide,
stop.
please.
That's mute.
Sorry about that. I got to mute.
Oh man, I keep freezing, don't I?
There we go. We still there?
Thank you. Apologies for.
You could try, Evan, a suggestion from one of the folks.
We're hiring on 3 more by the end of the month.
Could be bandwidth. You might, although you need to be able to see the slides to know where you are.
If he mutes his video, if you just
But
stop
then
your
you
video,
know where he is. in the
Hopefully
center.
this will improve it.
perfect.
Okay, apologies. So this is our team. We're 8 people right now. Myself and Jonathan Lurivier are the co-founders. We're bringing on 3 more people by the end of the month. And the one in particular that I want to note is Grant Kavanaugh, who's coming on. He's going to lead the risk and finance team at Scoot Science. He's a former asset manager at Nephila Climate, and he's going to help us design a lot of the risk and finance projects that we're working on. Next slide, please. This is some of our advisors and investors. We are a venture and angel-based group. So we've raised 2.4 million to date, but I want to say a shout out to Startup Monterey Bay. That was our first $5,000, and it was a great shot in the arm. It really kept us motivated and going. So thank you guys.
Absolutely.
Next slide, please.
Anytime we can cause $2.4 million in financing by shelling out $5,000, let me know.
Thanks. And that's about it. So my call to action is hire particularly staff.
We lost your call to action, Evan.
I think he was saying we are hiring a senior software engineer. He wants to point that out.
All right.
Also follow us.
So we got some questions there.
Yeah, Evan, you have a couple questions. Are you still there?
Sure.
Okay. So one of the questions from Chris Manuel was, how do you retrieve the data that you use in your, and I assume he's talking about primary data that you collect out in the field.
Sure. So that's actually one of the main reasons that we pivoted. We realized that aquaculture operations are data gold mines. They've been collecting data consistently. Regions have been continuous temperature, salinity, dissolved oxygen at multiple depths in the water column. This is the kind of LTER, sorry, I shouldn't use acronyms. This is the kind of long-term ecological study quality data that lots of scientists work their whole career for to gather. But these are privately held data streams that no one's actually using to their full extent. So when we saw that these existed, it was just like a gold rush. Like, wow, this is incredible. How do you get your hands on this data? So we're not, fortunately, collecting the data ourselves, but we are trying to use that data in a more efficient way than what's actually happening now.
Great. So we're losing you a little bit on the some of the questions. So why don't we do any final questions? We'll have people email them to you, or you can answer them via the chat window. So if anyone in the audience would like, they can post questions into the chat area, and we can have Evan respond there. And then Evan, if you don't mind, could you would you be willing to share your email address in the chat so that people can also contact you?
Could you guys contact me through the website? That way I can get some tracking on you all.
Sure.
The marketing tricks myself. But yeah, it would be, we have a contact form on our website in a moment.
Sure. I'll if you post that information, or I'll post it onto the website. There we go. Thanks,
Thank you.
Evan. Thank you. Thanks for your presentation. Brad, back over to you.
Excellent. Thank you. That was great. Pretty soon we'll be waiting for Scoot Science to do their IPO, but they got a little ways to go yet. But that company has really developed amazingly over the last 4 years. So let's roll on to our last group from Naval Postgraduate School. We have Megan Schlesinger of the Emerging Technology Consortium and her colleague Chris Manuel, who's with the C2 Tech Bridge. They've got some amazing programs that are available to and reaching out to us. So this is a great opportunity to hear about some of the cool things happening at the Naval Postgraduate School. So Megan and Chris, turn it over to you. Megan, we're not hearing anything, and you're not muted.
You hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. I was trying to block out the background noise, but we'll just have to roll.
You blocked it out very effectively.
All right, why don't we roll on to the next slide? Okay, so this is just a brief overview of my presentation today. Next slide. All right, so first, just a quick introduction to our team. First, we have Chris Manuel. You can see him up at the top. He's currently the Associate Dean of Research for Technology Development at NPS. He's also the Director of the Emerging Technology Consortium and the Naval X Central Coast Tech Bridge. Hopefully what those are will all make sense by the end of this brief. And then you see myself. I'm the Deputy Director of the Emerging Technology Consortium, and we both work at the Naval Postgraduate School, which, if you aren't familiar with it, it's a federal research-based school that provides master's degrees and PhD degrees for our military officers, both American primarily, as well as some international students. We have about 80 different curricula, ranging in anything from an MBA program to oceanography to defense analysis, which is more like a political science degree. So we have a multitude of different kinds of students, and we are very research focused. And so the Emerging Technology Consortium and in our efforts with the Central Coast Tech Bridge serve those communities. Between Chris and myself, both U.S. Army veterans, and we have over 40 years of collective service and about 20 years of collective industry experience just between the two of us. So we know both of these sides of the fence pretty well, and we're working on building our team currently. So you can see we're in the startup phase of what we're doing ourselves. Next slide, please. Okay, so in defining the problem, it's more like, how much time do you have? But for the purposes of this brief, I thought I would just start with military tech is not always user-friendly or even useful. So in my previous career in the Army, I was an intelligence officer, and this is a picture of one of the pieces of equipment that we had to use. When I deployed to Afghanistan, it was my guy's job to go out and intercept enemy communications. And this was one of the tools that we were given to do so. You can see it's very heavy, and it makes you look like a giant target when you're trying to hide from the enemy. So not very user-friendly. On top of that, it is, again, not useful and doesn't work that well. This piece of equipment in particular, it really only intercepted radio communications, which was not the only way that our enemies were talking about us when they were looking at us. You needed to have 3 of these employed to even get anything really meaningful. You had to hope that you had a translator on hand that spoke the language. You couldn't record it. And long story short, it just wasn't very useful, yet this is what we were given. And as you can see, this guy, he has even newer uniform than what I had when I went to Afghanistan almost 10 years ago. So it's still out there and it's still not very useful. Next slide. So what's the solution to this? The DoD at large recognizes that this is a problem, that we're giving our soldiers, sailors, airmen, et cetera, technology that's not user-friendly and not very useful for them. And our enemies are not encumbered by the same boundaries and barriers that we are in order to get this great technology that is out there into the hands of the warfighter. So for the purposes of this brief, again, how much time do you have? There's a zillion different ways to find out what your solution could be. But I think that, you know, for what we're doing at MPS and what we have to leverage within our local community are these three things. Pathways for successful technology transfer. Our students come to MPS that they completely understand their problem sets, and they even have excellent resources at hand to help them develop technology at MPS. But there's really not a great way to get it across the finish line and get it out for commercialization, let alone to get fielded to the force. Also, technology informed by the user. Again, our students are a treasure trove. They're all mid-career, almost all of them. So they've been in the fight for somewhere between 8 to 10 years typically, and then they're here to not only learn, and they have the time, so they're not fighting another mission while also trying to inform some tech company about their problems. They're here to learn, they're here to do the research, and they're passionate about these problems because since they're coming to NPS, they have a promise that they're going to go back out to the force with what they've learned. So they're very passionate about what they're here to do, and they understand their problems better than anybody else. And then finally, collaboration across organizations. This is the way of the future. The government understands that we need industry and academia in order to get this technology where it needs to be. And again, our enemies are already doing this. So this picture at the bottom that I have shown is kind of a success story out of these three solutions that I put forward. It's called an ATAC, an Android Tactical Awareness Kit. It's a small Android that, you know, a soldier can take, mount it on his kit, on his chest. He can look down when he needs it. It alerts him. It's easy for him to understand on the go. His hands are freed up to carry his weapon and any other equipment he might need. And it's not a huge distraction on the battlefield, but he has all the situational awareness that he or she needs to get their job done. And again, it's really easy to look at on the go. And again, it just helps them get that job done. So here, again, we have things that are, it's been successfully transferred. The technology was certainly informed by the user, and there was collaboration. The government didn't invent its own Android. It bought it off the shelf and adapted it for its own needs. Next slide, please. So what is the solution that we're developing at NPS? And that's the Emerging Technology Consortium and the network that it's building around it. Our mission is to focus MPS students and faculty on selected emerging technologies to address these capability gaps and bringing together government, industry, and academic partners to achieve this. So this is a graphic that we use a lot in our government presentations, where you can see on the left, we have the Emerging Technology Consortium as part of MPS. In the center there, you have some of our contracting mechanisms that I won't even get into, but they're very underutilized, and they're there to partner with government, industry, and other academic partners to get things done a little bit differently. It's not all about, here's a statement of work, here's the deliverables, and here's a price tag attached to it. In the center, you'll see that Tech Bridge logo. Again, I'll go into that in a few minutes. And then on to the right, you see NPS Works, which is a nonprofit organization that we're working to stand up. We currently just entered into an agreement with a nonprofit that will actually stand this organization up. And what that relationship will do for us is it will bring us the network, you know, and when I say that is because it's so difficult for the government to say, hey, you startups, I'm really interested in what you're doing. We can't just go out and talk to you all the time for a multitude of reasons. But if we hire a nonprofit and we partner with them, that specializes in this outreach, they can do that for us. So we have that one-on-one contact with that nonprofit, and then that nonprofit reaches out to all the they specifically focus on non-traditionals, because that's what the government realizes that they're lacking. We all are familiar with the traditional defense contractors, and we're also familiar with bloated timelines and budgets that are associated with that, because they know that they have the corner on that market. And so we're looking for non-traditionals that have relevant technology, and preferably dual use technologies, meaning it has a commercial application so that we're not your only customer, and that you're forced to stay with the speed of industry and keep up with your competitors outside of us, so that you don't just get sucked into what we need you to do. You continue to stay relevant, so that again, we're getting the best out of you, and we're not the only person investing in your technology. So then to the right of that, the nonprofit that we've recently partnered with, they're also partnered with a up and coming venture studio. So we're bringing an organization to specifically focused within the Monterey Bay area that is interested in investing in these dual use technologies, which again, like, that's very unique and it's very niche, but this way they can focus on getting vetted capital towards these companies. And if they're not quite ready to launch, then we can help incubate them. That's all the things that the venture studio is looking to do, as well as give access to grants, SBIRs, and investors, like I mentioned. Next slide, please. Okay, so what's our strategy? The strategy right now, again, I mentioned it's just Chris and I. We are a brand new organization on campus, just stood up last year, but we're really focusing on building our network, which you can see to the left, and securing the funding on the right, so that we can really capitalize on our students and the excellent ideas they bring to the table. Chris himself is one of these success stories, and he did this without any of this in place when he was a student at MPS, but he tells people all the time that he believes that there are students here that do have incredible technology ideas, but for whatever reason, it just doesn't get across the finish line, whether they don't have the correct expertise in place, because MPS doesn't have one of everything that you need to get this kind of technology done. The pathway for commercialization and tech transfer hasn't been in place, or there hasn't been that scalability. You know, it's even been concepts that have been tested and proven, but they can't scale to grow to the demand of the military. So those are all the big problems that we're trying to solve. So again, to the left, you'll see the Central Coast Tech Bridge. MPS is now the cornerstone of this community that we're working to build. So Naval X is the Navy's innovation organization, and they've identified communities across the country. They're currently 13, and the Central Coast, and they identify them as tech bridges. MPS, like I said, is the cornerstone of the Central Coast Tech Bridge here in Monterey. Our territory, so to speak, ranges from just north of Ventura, where you can see one of the little dots below us, all the way up into Silicon Valley. So between having access to all these non-traditionals that are in this region, we also have the students. Again, that's our gold mine. All the other areas, they have a lot of operators, but they're not always dedicated to the work that they have, nor do they have the time or the resources, whereas our students do. They're here to learn, they're passionate about what they're doing, and they want to build technology that they can see on the back end of their second half of service. We also have the Defense Works community. That's our non-traditional, or I'm sorry, our nonprofit partner, and they already have 6 of these kind of hub ecosystems that they've stood up across the country, and they each serve their own individual military customers. So while we're tied in with them, we're actually their first Navy customer, and so they already are tied into the AFWorks community, if you're familiar with the Air Force, or the SoftWorks community. I mean, that they're actively building that right now, and they have been in this business for the last 5 years or so. So those are just some of the major connections that we have just there to the left, and to the right, looking for funding. That's our job. We try to help non-traditional players find that, that investment, whether it's through government funding, such as the Office of Naval Research. If you're not familiar with the SBIR and STTR programs, those are incredible funding opportunities for people that are interested or maybe even considering getting involved in government government applications for their technology. It's a great non-dilutive capital program for these companies. And then finally at the bottom, I can't give you access to Shark Tank, but we're hoping to give you access to investors through the Monterey Bay Venture Studio. Next slide, please. So what do these opportunities look like? So that what we're offering to you and again, we're not quite there yet, but we already are plugged into organizations that are doing it. So if we're not doing it here, we can help you find a place or the right niche, because a lot of these are driven by industry or regional specifics. So we can help you get involved with the government, maybe in ways that you didn't think you could before, whether it's through technology demonstration. They call them collider events, where, you know, we all come together and we collide on our great ideas and shared purposes. There's small business accelerators that the government is offering, SBIRs and STTRs. Again, those are, sorry if I didn't say it before, it's small business innovation research grants. And then rapid prototyping, prize challenges, and grant partnerships. I mean, there's currently legislation out there for the National Science Foundation to get $100 billion, or to give away $100 billion in research grants over the next 5 years. And NPS, as a research institution, would love to partner with companies on this research. And then the next, on the other side, we have why get involved? Why is this a benefit to you? The customer discovery, I think, is tremendous, particularly at MPS. I came from the Colorado Springs community. I worked in a nonprofit that did this for our Air Force customer prior to coming to NPS. And so I helped a lot of small businesses link up with potential Air Force customers. And they always said that this was probably the biggest value of getting involved with our company, was they were able to find new users and really help them hone in on how their technology could help them. And in some cases, even pivot their businesses towards this customer. We can also help you expand your network. Obviously, we're trying to find groups of like-minded people, both on the government side and the industry side. So we're looking forward to hosting these kinds of events in the future, where you can come and expand your network, potentially even demonstrate technology, find new applications for your business. Even just the other two pitches that we heard tonight, I can think of applications on the government side, whether it's military or otherwise, for how we could use that kind of technology. So I encourage you to think about that and not discount the government, despite how difficult we can be as a customer. We're really trying to break those boundaries, and Chris and I are kind of your local representatives on how to do that, along with small business development centers, PTACs, et cetera. You can learn how to do business with the government. I think part of our model moving forward is going to be educational in nature for these companies, so that you're not walking into it blindly. And then finally, contracts and investment opportunities is part of the entire ecosystem that we're trying to build out. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to leave you all with a few web pages to even start looking at. We have the Naval X website. They're also on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. They're putting, you know, full court press out there on, you know, what are we doing? They have a few challenges coming up. A lot of them are particularly focused on artificial intelligence. So if you have technology that might be relevant to that, I encourage you to go to the Naval X website and check that out. Also, we have our own webpage within the Naval X page for the Central Coast Tech Bridge, where you can get in touch with us. And then finally, I have the Defense Works page. If we're not the right customer for you, they probably have a government customer, since they have all branches of the military that would be interested in your technology. And they're always building kind of their CRM out, so that they have a huge pool of people that are willing to participate should there be a need for their tech. I mean, currently, I believe they have over 50,000 companies in their Rolodex. And then finally, at the bottom, like I said, we're a startup. We don't even have our web pages up yet, but we're working on all of those. So there should be pages for the Emerging Technology Consortium, MPS Works, which is what we're going to call our kind of our nonprofit partners collaborative space, and then the Monterey Bay Venture Studio. All of them are coming online as we build out this ecosystem and iron out all the details. So with that, I'll go to the next slide and I'll take any questions.
Great. Well, thank you, Megan. That was very, very interesting. We did have a question from Brad. He actually had a question about, is the flow of technology development from the private sector to the military, or from the military to the private sector?
Yeah, good question. So it can be both ways. We are looking to take technology that is coming out of MPS and transfer that, whether it's through licensing or if there's a company that we find that is either willing to take it on, or because our students have to go back to their military service, and that's a challenge. Or if there's a company that says, I already do a lot of this, I can adapt my business to meet this need. We help with that, as well as the reverse, which is tech transition, where we take a student problem, we kind of find the existing components across the landscape, and then we try to put them together and innovate that way with existing technology that probably already has an a different application. So it goes both ways.
Okay, great. Other questions? If you have, post in the box. We did have a request that if we could post the PowerPoints to the web so that people could have the URLs, and so we'll either post the presentations or we'll copy the URLs onto the notes page after this is all done. So,
I'll also put mine and Chris's email addresses in the chat, so that specific question. I know it's not simple. Nothing in the government seems to be. But again, we're starting this all up, and we're happy to answer questions and help you figure out how to get involved, or put you in touch with somebody that might be interested in what you have.
Great. How does someone from the private sector learn more about how they might, if their business, for example, could have applications for the military? And sort of an example would be Evans here, where he's out there collecting primary data about weather out in the environment. Are there contracts? Are there potential grants that he could take advantage of?
So the easy answer to that is I would encourage you to look at the SBIR webpage, just because they offer their awards in 3 different phases. And the first phase is they will give you money just to find military partner, or not strictly military, but government partners. The page is broken down as, you know, what part of the government. So obviously I'm very familiar with the DoD, the Department of Defense side. And they have announcements 3 times a year where they say, these are the technology areas that we're interested in. Some of them are very niche and focused, and some of them are more open topics, is what they call them, where they just say, hey, we know that we have blind spots, and we know that they are not on any of our, you know, forecasting requirements for the foreseeable future. Tell us what you think we need. Sorry about that.
It happens. It happens.
It does. Of course, it happens now.
So the SBIR process, and in fact, 25 years ago, I used to be a reviewer for the SBIR program. And so I remember the applications used to be rather lengthy. I think some of the applications were 50, 75 pages in length. I understand that process has been simplified quite a bit.
Absolutely, yes. So for a lot of these, particularly on the open topics, they're now just some papers that, I mean, I've seen them down to like 5 pages where it just says, tell us what your technology does and how you think we could use it. And then there's even companies that specialize in helping you write to win SBIR awards. So, so those are always resources out there for small businesses as well. You know, I know back in Colorado, we also, at our Small Business Development Center, we invited them to our events all the time so that they could learn about these kinds of opportunities and then relay that to their companies that say, you know, because back in Colorado, our industry sectors were space and cyber, where we were very focused on, and our SBDC was as well. And so they would say, you know, this technology might be of interest to this small business accelerator that's coming up that's sponsored by the Air Force or whatever it was. So I think building your ecosystem is important, getting out there. Again, once we get our nonprofit entity up and running, they're going to be advertising events and driving people towards all that as well. So I think as these grow, the opportunities will become more visible. And then again, building out the ecosystem, being in touch with Startup Monterey Bay and DART and things like that will really help inform kind of what our needs are, as well as what the opportunities are.
Great. We just had a question. Let's see. I'm going to start at the bottom. Contact information for the ETC.
I'll put it in the chat right now.
Okay, great. And then we did have a question. I don't know, Lynette, if you can answer it about how they can download the chat. I know that when I exited out of the chat, it's tended to just appear on my desktop, but how can people access the chat session that's going on right now on their screen? So, oh, go ahead.
Maybe to get the transcription and put it with the recording that we'll be posting. If there are any specific links that are shared within the PowerPoint, we can also copy and paste so that we have that available.
Okay, great. We have a question from Chris Bly, and I'm not sure if I understand it, but it says, do you support other Five Eyes companies?
So I think I'm not 100% sure what Chris is trying to ask there, but I will say that we do work with Five Eyes partners. And if you're not familiar, Five Eyes are the 5 English-speaking countries in the world: England, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, and the United States. And they're always kind of our closest partners. So we're able to disclose a lot more of our classified work with them than we are with other countries. And the answer to that is yes, we do work with Five Eyes countries. As far as companies, I know that some, it depends on the work, I would say, just because some of the more innovative programs that are out there that we're working with, there are some concerns about ownership and things like that. That we have to work through, but I would say that nothing is unworkable. I know in Colorado, I worked with a company that had a headquarters in Germany. Even our participant that worked with us specifically, he was a German citizen. So I know that there's kind of ways around that, because we understand we can't completely discount foreign partners if we're all working towards the same goal.
Great. Okay.
I hope I answered that question okay.
Yeah, I think you did. Lynette just posted that she will save the chat file and she'll post it with the recording for the meetup, so you'll be able to have that as well. So let's see. And I do know each region of the state of California used to have someone with the SBDC program who specialized in doing nothing but the SBIR, STTR program. I think that's actually being broken up just because of the number of contracts. And so I think I think the Text Futures group might be one of our contacts, as well as, I'm not sure if the PTAC regionally has some capability of supporting the SBIR, STTR grants. So,
yeah, we also should be getting, as part of our role in being designated a tech bridge, we should also be getting an SBIR coordinator who specifically understands that and is going to help us navigate that process individually with companies and again, be able to advertise those opportunities. 1 second, buddy.
It's the intern program, we understand.
But they should be on our team here at MPS to help us with that, because, you know, obviously we specialize in Navy stuff. They specialize in SBIR stuff.
Great. Well, Megan, thank you. I appreciate just how difficult it is to juggle. So, and we really, really appreciate the content. So, and you got assistance on both sides of you. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's really exciting to be here. I miss being in the startup community like I was in my last job. So it's great to be here, and really nice to meet everyone.
And
Well,
we'll get,
consider this a
get-
formal invitation to invite to participate in this entrepreneurial community here, and we'll give you lots of opportunities.
Great.
thanks again.
Thank you. Yes, thank you very much. All right. That was great. It brings us to the end of tonight. As usual, put out the call. If you would like to present at the Tech Meetup, please get in contact with us and we'll get you signed up. And what's next? I think just our next slide. Next slide. Hello. The slides are stuck. There we go. Special thanks to our sponsors, the IP Society, Angel to Exit, Blue Tech Valley, Startup Monterey Bay, and the College of Business. And on to next. Go slide. We're skipping August. August is a break. We'll see you on September the 8th, and we'll be getting information out about who our speakers are for September 8th. Anything else after that? I think that might be about it. Oh, we have a monthly newsletter packed with great information. You can sign up there. Lynette, why don't you put that, or Dan, you want to put that link into the chat?
I'm typing, but Lynette's probably going to beat me.
You don't want to raise Lynette on those kinds of things.
Her fingers are too fast.
Okay, and we'll see you next time, Tuesday, September 8th. We will be online again. Look for us on Eventbrite. And with that, we return to the musical portion of our show, and we'll see you all later on. Thank you very much. Bye all.
Thank you all.
Thanks to our presenters. You did a great job.